Hey everyone, welcome to today's edition of One Single Story, where each weekday we offer a brief lesson from a section of today's reading, then we examine a single relevant question that passage points us to. Today I'm joined by Sharon Schwartz, and we're looking at a passage from Psalm 74, verses 1 through 11. The theme of 74 is very similar to that of 73, so much so that it kind of builds on it. We're not certain of the events that caused the city of Jerusalem and the sanctuary to lie in ruins, which he talks about in verse 3, or Israel's enemies to shout in triumph, which he talks about in verse 4. The destruction of Jerusalem by the Babylonians in 587 BC could be in the background, it's possible. But whatever the occasion, it's clear that the psalmist sees it as a rejection from God. And what the psalmist believes is needed for the hand of God to move against these enemies. In verse 11, that's what he's asking for. And it's not just the hand of God, but specifically the right hand of God that is mentioned. God's right hand is this metaphor for his great power, his authority, his ability to change any situation. And the psalmist questioned why God's right hand is, so to speak, staying in God's pocket. In fact, the literal translations read, "Take it from the fold of your garment and destroy them." So he's basically telling God, take your hand out of your pocket and destroy them. This inactivity is introduced in the beginning of the psalm as rejection. The psalmist says, "Why have you rejected us for so long?" He's highlighting this, what appears or at least feels like this sustained inactivity of God in defending his people, and it feels like rejection. The psalm is a model prayer for us that demonstrates an appeal for God to act now. He's wanting God to move right this minute. So Sharon, why do we often interpret God's inactivity or his delayed response to a given situation to be rejection?
Because we want it now. We want it fixed now. We are a instant coffee microwave world, and I think we've always been that even before them. We don't want to wait. I want to know the answer now. I want it solved right this second. And that's just not God's way.
In the modern day, because we live in a time when it is very instantaneous communication.
Oh, yeah.
If I text you, you text me back. We can get a hold of anybody, anywhere, at any time. And, I was in the middle of the ocean and people could text me a couple weeks ago.
They weren't supposed to.
Well, the first few days, yeah, just the first few days. And, but that's the only way to get away from it.
Right.
Is to turn it off. When somebody doesn't respond, we assume they're ignoring us.
That's
right. That we even take it personally. What have I done? I don't know about you, but there are times when somebody doesn't respond to me, and that is the thing that I'll think, what have I done? What, have I created a problem? Have I hurt their feelings? Are they mad at me? Is something wrong? So I think we still experience that today.
Oh, absolutely.
We won't, even if God
probably worse.
Yes.
Because we're used to it.
But we treat God that way. We ask God for something and then we go out, and when he doesn't answer exactly in the moment that we think he ought to answer us,
right,
we think, man, God's rejecting us, but that's not always the case.
When we were reading this, I thought about Lazarus, and that was the first thing. Why did you wait? We called you. Why did you wait? Well, he waited so there was no doubt in anybody's mind that Lazarus was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And what he did then showed who he was in a bigger way than if he had just said he had got there and healed him. Because then they could have said, well, the doctor did it, or he just got better, or he just got, Sometimes God waits to get a bigger response and reaction and to remind us we're not in charge.
And his time is just not our time.
No, it's not.
I wish it was, but
sometimes.
Have you ever had a personal situation where you felt like God was standing by with his hands in his pockets, doing nothing when you needed him to act?
It wasn't me, but I was part of it. It was when Danny was sick, my brother-in-law. He was in the hospital and his heart rate had gone through the roof. And we had been praying for Danny. You know, Danny had made choices, and the truth is, Evelyn and I were unsure of where he was spiritually. And so Evelyn and I and the whole family have been praying, Lord, you just need to just stop this cancer, stop this cancer, stop this cancer. And then here we're in the hospital, and they're telling us he's not got long if this heart rate don't get down. And we're going to give him a shot, but it usually takes 30 to 40 minutes to work, and he doesn't have that long. And so Evelyn, I had stepped out of the room. Evelyn was there, and in front of the nurses and everything, she said out loud, God, I need you to do this right now. No more waiting, no more delaying, whatever. I need this to work right now. And they gave him the shot, and instantly his heart rate went from 198 to 100. And then within 5 minutes down to 67. They couldn't believe it. They couldn't believe it. The truth is, before this started, that morning he hadn't looked good. He wasn't himself. We all knew it. Carrie, Evelyn, and I said, this ain't good. Something, you know. And we were praying, and we were fasting about this. We, you know. And I said, Lord, I don't know what you're waiting on, but time's getting close, you know. Wake up, you know. And it was wonderful, because after that time, when he came home, he called me over to the house one day, and he said, I need to talk to you. And he reassured me, and we prayed that him and the Lord had got it right. And it was so much better to be able to say goodbye. But we wanted it back when he told us he had cancer in July. Just stop it. Take it away. Let a surgery take it out, and that and Steve, we were getting nothing. I mean, it felt like God went crickets on us. I mean, even in our hearts, there was not that heart conversation. I'm still here. He went crickets. And I was watching Evelyn hurt, and if you know me, you can hurt me, and it's okay. You hurt someone I love, I'm coming after, you know. But that morning, you know, God, get your hands. I think I even said, get your hands out of your pocket, wake up, we're here, you know. And it was a blessing, because it gave that chance, but it also reminded us three, he's there. Even when we don't hear him or see him, he's there.
The inactivity sometimes can be frustrating.
Do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a pretty much tell me yes or no, and I don't really care what it is. If it ain't what I want to hear, at least I know what direction the ignoring or me guessing.
Right.
It's for my personality type very difficult, you know. And when we feel like God's standing around doing nothing, sometimes he's doing more than we realize. You know, he's at work more than we realize, and we just have to be patient.
Problem is, we're only seeing
that small hole.
That small hole.
Well, thank you for joining us again today on this edition of One Single Story. We hope you'll be back with us tomorrow as we continue a conversation around the book of Psalms.